guys, welcome back to another video on the channel today. It's something a little bit different. It's a race in the Ferrari. As you can see there, I've put up a time that we do with the McLaren. That was just in a qualifying session at 2 minutes 1.1 I think it is. Wasn't a very good lap. We can get in the 2 minutes at 0 with the McLaren 650S. But this race is in a Ferrari with a very poor setup. I literally just threw a random setup just to see how it, just basically to get in the race. Qualified second on a very poor 203. The car was horrible to drive. But what this led to, the guy behind me in the McLaren there is a fast racer, and the McLaren's very much suited to this track, as you can see from the lap time we posted up on that screen just then. You know, you can get into a very low 2 minutes around this track, and I'm in a Ferrari that is just not. I could just say I would have been better off with the default setup. Let's just say I basically tried to put up a setup from the PC version. I've done a reasonable base setup for this car on the PC version, which was in the low 201s. So I tried to basically use some of that, what I could remember of it, because we just entered the right race, and in qualifying it was just so bad, but I didn't have time to go in the pits and change it, otherwise I would have started at the back of the field. So I chose to just do the lap, get second place on the grid, and then we didn't have a chance to change the setup, obviously, because we had to put the fuel in, and then it would start the race. And you're going to see now how bad the setup was. It was pretty awful, to be honest. I was really having to be patient on the throttle, couldn't put any power down, couldn't get on the power at all. We've got a Tenza prototype in front of us, fast racer. I'm sure you admit, I mean, if I had the decent setup, I think I would have been not comfortably, it would have been ahead, but it would have been a good race. But I think I would have had pole position, because I know in McLaren I can get to the 2 minutes, but this car with this setup was pretty awful. But to be fair, that Porsche is fast, but it's extremely hard to drive in Silverstone because of the bumps, and you'll see why in a minute. I think on the next lap here now, as we're coming up to the next lap, I think he actually makes a mistake in a bit with this car, because it is just a difficult car. You can see there that Lamborghini distracted him there. He had to get out the corner. But look at the understeer I was giving this car. Literally, if I was in the McLaren there, I think I've got another video that I can upload with similar situations at the McLaren, and I actually pull up, overtake and move off there without any understeer. But this car just understeers so much with the setup I had on it. It was pretty much the worst setup I've ever created and ever raced with. It was so bad. But what it led to was a really good drive by myself. I think you're going to see now. We managed to stay with them here, and the leader, Tenza prototype, makes a mistake on the curb. It's just such a tricky car to drive, that Porsche. It's just really hard. Smoke everywhere. I just didn't know what to do. I panicked basically and just kept my foot kind of in it. Stayed on the outside of the leader there in the McLaren, and we got into first place, just about. But the problem is now we've got a very fast driver in a very fast car on this track. So it's all about the defence and how hard we can defend with a poor setup. And you're going to see some really, you know, I don't very often get a chance to use defensive skills. Obviously I'm used to them from league racing, racing with some very fast drivers in Apex Online and VR Room, so I know how to defend. But this is a really good example of how to, if your car's not fast and you've not really got the speed, how you can still hold on to a place while driving. But I feel it was fair, I think you guys will agree. So we're going to start now and have a little watch how we go about defending from this McLaren, who is a fast driver in probably the fastest car on this track in terms of GT3. So you can see now he's holding on behind us. At that point, the Ferrari isn't too bad. The setup we put together wasn't too bad. It was this point now, I just couldn't get on the throttle. You can just see how patient I was having to be in the back end then. It was nearly losing it on me. We've even got traction control on at the moment on the weakest setting, which on the PC version I didn't need on with the setup I created. So I'm guessing there was something massively wrong with the setup. It could be the tyre pressures. Looking at the tyre pressures there, we're running at 30 psi, which is a bit high. I'm pretty sure the ideal tyre pressures for this car is much lower than that. So it could have been the tyre pressures that was wrong. Could have been a number of things, but whatever it was, the car was just pretty horrible to drive. And you're going to see now, I think the McLaren 650S driver is going to start catching us up in a minute and really putting us under a lot of pressure. And when I mean a lot of pressure, I mean every single time, like basically any overtaking position, he was going out wide, we were covering the inside lines, basically just making life as hard as we could for him to get past us. And that's what you've got to do. If your car isn't brilliant, you just got to try and get as smooth exits from the corners as you can, and you know, make the car, you know, if you can get a safe exit and make sure you can't pull a move off, that's what you got to do. But it's not the easiest task when you're driving a car that was as poor as this. I'm going to have to do a setup of this, because even through that split there, 27.9, in the McLaren we go through that split on a 26.5. It's a massive difference through that middle section, and also these last few bends I just couldn't put the power down. But we did our best with what we could with this setup, and basically tried the hardest to get it round the track without losing that place. You can see there he's starting to gain on us now. This is where he seemed to gain a fair bit through them corners there, because I was just not able to, I had no confidence in putting the power down on the car. So I was literally driving as hard as I could without crashing this at this point. Even in qualifying, I think we managed one lap. I mean, that was partly because of people on the track ruining our laps, and also because I kept spinning. I just couldn't keep the car on the track. You can see now, that lap, I think that even ended up being one of the best laps I did in the race. Partly because of the defending we were having to do, but you can just tell the difference. It was 2 seconds off the McLaren qualifying lap that I did after. I literally went back into my McLaren after this just to check that there wasn't something changed in the game. We went straight on the 2 minutes 1.0. So, you know, that was after one qualifying lap, and we could have got that well into the 2 minutes, I feel, the McLaren. I think I've done a 2 minutes 0.5 in that car. I think that's the best I've done so far, but we could probably get it into the 59, similar to the Corvette that we did. But you can see now, we've got this McLaren approaching us now, and he's going to start putting us under some pressure now for a few laps, and we're going to have to start driving reasonably defensive now, and considering where he's going to make a move and how we're going to defend it. And this is going to be quite a I basically want to give you guys some ideas of, you know, where you need to consider placing your car in certain corners. There's certain things you can do to make it very hard for someone to overtake you, even if they are a second a lap quicker than you. You know, if they're a second lap quicker but you're placing your car in the right place, you can make life very hard for someone. I mean, now he's getting a very fast run on us now. Even in a straight line, that McLaren was gaining on this Ferrari in the setup we've got. You know, it's just strange how slow the car was. It was just something not right with the setup at all. I think I actually may have, even though it would have made me slower in a straight line, I should have probably added one more click to the rear downforce, but we'll have a look at that in another video soon. And you can see now he's on our right, so we're just going to stay on the left, brake a little bit late, take the inside line, and now we're going to just lift off a little bit so he can't get on the accelerator on that apex point. It's just a little thing you can do, is just back off slightly, give yourself a clean exit, and then he can't get on the power as early as he can, because we've just lifted off a bit. So he's going to have to lift off, or he'll just ram us. I mean, fair enough, if you're in a lobby with a dirty driver, he probably will just ram you, but I could tell he was a clean driver, a very good clean driver, so I knew he wouldn't do that. And now we've defended that corner just well enough, and through these corners now we actually hit that curve a little bit hard, but so did he, following us through that corner. He took a wide line through there, so I know he's going to try and get a very strong exit from that corner, but we actually got on the power reasonably well there, much better than what we had done previously on other laps. And he's in our mirror again, but this is another corner now, which the McLaren is so fast through this corner, so I could tell when I was driving it, but compared to this Ferrari, we've got no turning, having to go down to second gear to get it to bite in, and you can see right in our mirror, and the back end nearly going again. We're just basically trying to hold on to this car at this point, going into third gear very early just to stop that wheel spin happening and losing grip. And you can see now he's going to be approaching us through the fast corners, which is really another area where the McLaren is strong on. Going through his right hand and then going through the fast corners up above ahead now, and he's going to basically run a little bit wide there, which might have cost him a few temps, but he's still right on our rear end there and catching us very fast. So what we're going to have to do now is we're going to try our hardest to get a very clean and fast exit, but we've got to be careful because this car was just literally the back end nearly going there. We're holding on, getting on the power early so we can into fourth gear very early to try and get some good speed. So I'm going to stick to the right hand side now, because if he's going to make a move and he wants to do it on the outside, he's going to have a hard time. So he's going to go down that left hand side, but then I'm going to move my left tyre onto the tarmac, which has got the grip on it. That just gives me the grip and him no chance of going around the outside. He just can't get around the outside there if I've placed a car like that. Again, if he's going to look to the left, I'm going to place a car in the middle of the track pretty much. He's not going to make a move there, and I can still get a reasonable entry and exit. Again, lifting off slightly there, you can see again, but then he's had to lift, and then I've got a smooth exit. It's just little things like that. It's just going to give you that little bit of an advantage and let you pull away. So there's no way he's going to be able to overtake through that corner as long as I keep doing that. Going into this corner was actually okay for me. I seem to be able to maybe gain a little bit of a buffer, which is good because if he would have been close to me going into this corner now, I was really struggling on the power through this corner and the next corners. It may have been a bit tricky for myself to hold this position. You can see the back end was just wanted to come loose every time I was putting the power down. I tried to stay in second gear there to get a bit of a faster exit. We actually managed a slightly faster exit, but again the 650S has pulled out that corner really nicely, and he's very close, which is dangerous going into this left hander now. We've now got to concentrate on holding this position as well as we can. So we're going down second gear and he's gone very close to the inside, but I managed to just give him enough space, but just basically cut that move off. I'm going to stay nice and tight now to the inside so he can't do an undercut on me. And again, he's had to lift slightly. We get a cleanish exit, trying to get on the power a bit too early, and this is going to compromise me now going into the right hander. So I'm going to stay to the right hand side and make sure he doesn't think about going down that right hand side. So he's going to go down left. I'll move over a bit into the middle of the track. Again, we've got the line, he can't make the move, and we've also got a reasonable exit coming out then, so I'm going to cut back over to the right, block that move off, and if he wants to go down that outside part, he can do that, but I'll have the inside line for this corner. It's all about giving yourself the inside line for the next corner whilst defending. Again, he's very close to us now, so I need to concentrate and get a reasonable exit. We're going to go in fourth gear early and get on the power as early as we can. You can see that has really helped us out now going down this straight, and you can see we've built up a little bit of a cushion from him now, and that's give us a nice little bit of buffer so we can go through the next corner now without a worry of having to defend, and we can go through it a little bit faster. But again, we're having to brake so early with this setup. It's just horrible basically to drive. I'm definitely going to do a setup video for this car and get this much faster on this track. Although the 650S is definitely the car you want to pick on this track. Going in second gear again, we couldn't really do what we were doing before, where we lift off a bit, because if we were, he would have been all over us and probably got past us. And now I'm going to have to go defensive again into his fast right hander, which is not what you want, but I know he's not going to make a move there. He had to lift off there because he couldn't see the entry point to the corner, and we've got away with it again. Some reasonably good defensive driving again there. Going into the next right hander, again he's taking a wider line there to try and get a clean exit. You can see he's got much more turning with that McLaren. He's able to get it to the right hand side and swing it in, whereas we're suffering so much with this setup. And you can see we're just about pulling ahead enough to stay just clear enough now, but he's going to have a little look probably down that left hand side again with that McLaren. Yeah, he's going to have a little look down there, and there's no point me going defensive there because I know he's not close enough, so I'm not going to compromise my entry into this corner because I know that he's not going to make that move there. So now again we need to stay as tight to that curb as we can, because if we go wide he's going to come up that inside and we've got no chance of defending against that car. So I make sure there's no space for him to get down there. He wants to overtake, he can go around the outside. It's all about placing the car in the correct position. Going into right hander again now, you really do need to be careful you don't push too hard. You've got to try and keep that car on the track, because if you run wide, if I run wide too far here, you see we run wide a little bit, but if you run any further wide than that, you're going to lose time on this track with it on the Assetto Corsa. It will just bog the car down slightly. Now going through the really fast corners, we're having to brake down to fourth gear so early to get it through the corners there compared to when we drive the McLaren. It's just so poor, this setup. I know I keep saying it, but it actually led to quite a good battle actually, that because I was driving the car with such a bad setup. It's actually, I'm not used to really, I'm not saying that I don't really get many chances to defend. I'm used to love it in league racing when you're racing with the fastest people and you've got to go defensive. It's a really good experience, and it's just good to get back into it actually, because I was probably a little bit rusty on the defensive drive, not had to do much recently, and this was definitely a little bit of an exercise in bringing back them skills. It's something that everyone can do as well. It's, you know, if you've got someone behind you that's faster, you can still defend cleanly. You can see we're always considering the next corner. We're going to go over to the right, he's got no chance of doing that. Going back to the middle of the track, still giving him room on the left, he can't make that move. Now he's a lot closer going through this corner, so I'm going to have to go down the right hand side now and cover the inside, but around the outside is going to be difficult, so we're going to really take a tight line through that corner to make sure he can't cut back on us. That actually gives us a reasonable exit now coming from this corner. As you can see, we're on the power nice and early. He's run a little bit wide there, he's gone onto the curb and he's lost his chance of an overtake there. That was basically our car placement again, you know, just putting the car in the right place and just making sure he's making his life as hard as it can be to overtake without obviously just ramming him off the track. I'll defend hard, but I'll defend fair, I think. And again, I know I've got a bit more cushion this time, so I'm going to take a slightly wider line into that corner to give myself a bit of a better exit. And you can see there, slightly better exit this time. We've managed to build a slight gap up to the second place guy behind, which is always needed going through this right hander, because if you make a slight mistake, you can lose a fair bit of time on this corner. Luckily we've done that okay, used a little bit of the exit there, and we've actually kept the gap nicely there. So going into these fast corners again, this is where he really gains on this Ferrari so much. You can see how much faster he is through there, and look how much later he can go on the brakes with the McLaren compared to my Ferrari setup. It just shows you different. And I've just noticed, and he had a massive moment on the curb then, which has then gave me a nice little bit of cushion, which is basically going to mean I'm not going to get basically harassed into this right-hander now. And going into the last few laps, I've just got to concentrate on defending now for the last few laps and seeing how we can defend this position. You see there, 10's the best lap of the race in 2 minutes 1.9, which is an okay lap in that Porsche. It is a very fast car, that Porsche, but it's also a tricky car to drive. That's why if a track's like this, I need to do a setup for that car just to get it a lot safer to drive, because I know how hard it is to drive on this track. So that's a car that we will do a setup on this track, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get that to the 159s because it's very fast round here. It's just hard to drive. So we've got a nice cushion now to the guy behind, and it looks like he's not struggling, but we've got a bit of a gap there building. And going into this corner, we're actually up on our previous best for a change, because basically we've not got him right behind us. We're able to concentrate on the driving line a bit more. We didn't get the best exit from that corner, but still we've got a big enough gap, and I think now he runs out of fuel, and I think that's the battle over. But you can see there, it's all about defending the line, taking the correct entry into a corner, and thinking about the next corner. That's one thing you always have to do in defending. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this little video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and make sure you click that like button. Thanks again for watching, guys.